Well, hello and welcome to the World News and Voice of the People TV. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we urge you to kindly visit our website, www.vop.ng, for fresh and trending stories. We begin the world news with the story that the World Trade Organization has confirmed Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala for his second term as its Director General. The decision was made during a special General Council meeting where member states approved her leadership renewal. Okonjo-Iweala, who first took office in March 2021, made history as the first African and the first woman to lead the World Trade Organization. Early supports for her reappointment came from 58 member countries, endorsing the African group's proposal for her continued leadership. Her next 4-year term will begin on September the 1st, 2025. Moving on, the Israeli military has warned Lebanese citizens not to return to 60 villages in the south of the country, 3 days into a ceasefire after more than a year of fighting with the Shia armed group Hezbollah. The Israeli Defense Forces published a map showing a swath of territory several miles deep, which it said residents must not return to. Anyone who did, it said, would be putting themselves in danger. More than 1 million Lebanese have been displaced by the fighting, mostly from the south. Tens of thousands of Israelis have also been displaced. The ceasefire came into effect on Wednesday morning, though officials in Israel and Lebanon have accused each other of already breaching that ceasefire agreement. Meanwhile, Syrian army rebels have claimed to have entered Aleppo, the first time rebels have entered the country's second largest city since government forces recaptured the city in 2016. Rebel forces reportedly launched a surprise attack this week, capturing a number of villages and reigniting conflicts that had been largely static for years. The Syrian military said it was confronting a major attack launched by terrorist organizations armed with heavy weaponry and drones. The Rebel Military Operations Command said earlier that they seized control of the Syrian government's Military Scientific Research Center on the outskirts of Aleppo city after heavy lashes with the regime forces and Iranian militias. Iran has informed the International Atomic Energy Agency that it plans to install more than 6,000 new centrifuges to enrich uranium. The report comes as Iran prepares to hold talks with Britain, France, and Germany in Geneva over its nuclear weapon program. Iran has previously agreed to a demand by the UN agency to cap its stock of high-enriched uranium up to only 60% purity, well below the weapons-grade enriched level of 90% needed for a bomb. The IAEA also disclosed that the Iran also intends to install 18 extra cascades of IR-4C on 17th and 18th of November. The Chinese ship, the Yipeng, is believed to have been in the area at the time and had since been anchored in international waters off Denmark. Beijing has denied any involvement in sabotage, saying that it was willing to work with Sweden and other countries to find out what really happened. Moving on, President Macron tours Notre Dame Cathedral 5 years after blaze. The world today got its first glimpse inside the new-look Notre Dame Cathedral since it was destroyed by fires in 2019. France Emmanuel Macron praised the restoration of the cathedral, telling restoration workers that they have transformed ashes into art during his final site visit of the cathedral in Heart of Paris ahead of his grand reopening on December the 7th and the 8th. President Macron also expressed gratitude for the solidarity shown worldwide and by donors after the cathedral's £582 million renovation. Notre Dame Cathedral was hit by a devastating fire in 2019, which caused its 19th century top to crash to the ground. Well, joining us now to make sense of these stories and more is Barrister Darlington Agumo, Voice of the People TV's in-house political analyst and a barrister by law. Barrister, a very, very good evening to you.
Good evening, David, and how are you?
Fine, very well, thank you. How are you doing today, Barrister?
I'm okay.
All right, let's get to it almost immediately. Interesting news coming to Nigerians, and of course, the person of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala being confirmed as a Director General of the World Trade Organization for the second term in office. In your words, how would you describe the persona of this woman, and what does this second confirmation means to her and maybe Nigeria in extension?
Yeah, it shows approval and excellence in office.
Okay.
Because that woman have, in short, if you ask me, she is a product that Nigeria has given to the world, and the world is enjoying it. Okay. That is why they now have to reappoint her. If she didn't do well, my dear, she won't go back. The world have no time for mediocrity. That woman is really a product. Unfortunately, nobody will even talk of asking her to come and help us here, either because of gender, religion, or tribe. But out there in the international community, they have no time for those crude principles. You know, let her come back here now to get appointment. Some people now remind her she's from Igbo. She's a woman. She's a Christian. That's what has been driving our politics.
How much of the ethnic divide has profited Nigeria as a country? Because you just made mention that if she comes here now, some persons will remember that she is Igbo and possibly she's Christian.
Yes.
How much of this religious and ethnic divide has improved Nigeria as a country from your perspective?
It has, man. With all the incompetence that have visited that particular ministry since Adelabu came there, is it supposed to be there? The answer is no. If you bring 3 cables now and ask Adelabu to differentiate the 3 cables, he don't even know. He don't know anything about that ministry. He doesn't. He's just there to extort money from Nigeria, introducing band A, band B, band C. A very crude way of thinking in this age and time. So, my dear, Okonjo-Iweala, if I say one of the things I want to say, they say because you are praising her because she's an Igbo. No. When an Igbo man seeks excellence, my dear, I will attach myself to that excellence.
But Barrister, this is not about you being Igbo or trying to even follow the sentiment of ethnic divide. According to records that we have, she was the chair of the World Bank's successful drive to raise $49.3 billion in grants and lowest credit for the poorest countries in the world. So all of these is visibly what she's done to have achieved that popular support for her to go for second term. But then again, let's look at it from the perspective of her being a Nigerian. There are several Nigerians that are doing great even outside the shores of Nigeria. There's also the Badenoch woman who a lot of persons are talking about. But in perspective, we're talking about Okonjo-Iweala. This second confirmation of her second term, would it in any way help Africa and Nigeria in developing and, of course, getting a bit of more consolidatory funding to help the continent and, of course, Nigeria?
Unfortunately, there is a template for running international organizations. You cannot come and change that template because you are from one particular region or country. No. Okonjo-Iweala cannot just concentrate on Nigeria or Africa because she's from there. She will do her job without fear or favor. That is what gave her the credit to go back.
Right.
There is no sentiment in such an organization. She won't even employ Nigerians or whatever without merit. She can't. There is a standard procedure over there. Here, do you have any? She will not do more than she's supposed to do for Africa. She will only encourage you to tap into the world trade that is going on. She has said it several times that we in Nigeria, we are not even tapping into the world trade. We are not taking advantage of these numerous opportunities. She said it. And that is the only thing she can do. She will not come and spoon-fed you and say, oh, yeah, because you are from here, you people, what is not due for you, I'll give it to you. No, she can't do that.
Now, the part that a lot of persons want to bring to mind about what the collaboration she's had with the Abia State government when it comes to power generation in that state, a lot of persons have said this is supposed to be a national thing. Why take it to a state in the southeast? Now, of course, in that particular sentence, you will want to uncover that there is some level of ethnic divide from such quarters who are saying this. But if we're going to juxtapose it, just like what you said, she said that Nigeria is not tapping into the world trade.
Okay.
How can we, as a nation, utilize that space that, of course, we have our own person as the chairperson?
You see, when you have a government that doesn't want to move forward, it's like flogging a dead horse. We would have taken advantage of that woman's position. They say heaven help those who help themselves.
Right.
We are not helping ourselves. So what do you want her to do? Extraordinary things that will bring her to ridicule. The whole world is watching her by the second. All her move, everything. She has told you, tap into what is going on. That's all you can do. If you don't, and other countries take advantage, what is that her problem? Because by the time she stepped down now, somebody will say, all the time she was there, what did she give tonight? What did she have? No. Such international organization is not run by sentiment or by tribe or religion. No. So she has told you, tap into what is going on. She said it under Buhari. She said it under Tinubu now. Is that not enough advice? Is it not when you start coming up, when you start taking advantage, then she can, if she even have something to, she cannot add. But here, nothing. If you have a student, let me give you a typical example.
Yes, sir.
In those days when we are in school, if you have a student who is doing so well, maybe he scored 78 or something, you can just give him 2 marks to make it 80. So that you can enter A plus. Abi?
Yes.
Because of previous performance and all that. In fact, some lecturers, when you impress them, they will give you mark. When you impress them by your deposition, they will give you mark. You know, they will give you mark. That is what she's there for. When you see Nigeria coming up, she say, okay, yes, people are doing well. By that time, nobody will raise eyebrow. But you see a student who is scoring below 40, you now gave him 70%. How come? This student did not merit this thing now. Why will you give him 70% for somebody who is below 40%? That is the problem of Nigeria. We don't have leaders that are focused. Everything is all about tribe. Tribe. Look at what Tinubu is doing in office. Everything, Yoruba. Meanwhile, things are not looking up.
But Barrister, when you...
I was thinking that somebody like him, he would have taken a cue from his kinsman who was there before, Obasanjo. Go and look for tested hand.
I was going there because she was finance minister under the then president, Olusegun Obasanjo, and of course, Goodluck Jonathan.
There are things she would have done with this government, but they don't want her. Abia said that wanted her. She answered them. The world is a global village. You can sit in your bedroom and give something, a proposal, an idea that will solve a problem that is confronting them. Is that not true? In this age of internet and all that, you can use paper, write a proposal, do this. Okay, go here, get this. You know, she can even use her international cloud to help you get certain things from people. As long as Okonjo-Iweala's name is there, I am telling you, it will open doors.
All right.
It will open doors. But are we tapping into it? No. We claim we know. That's why the woman stayed away now.
Barrister, in terms of appointments, help Nigerians and, of course, the rest of the world understand this. Federal character in appointments, ministers and all of that, has this present administration fared very fairly when it comes to appointment of ministers and, of course, ambassadors in office, owing to other administrations as well?
You see, APC in general, what they are doing to our polity, what they are doing to our unity, it cannot be quantified now. This party have destroyed the unity of this country.
How do you mean by that?
By this appointment. Buhari started it, nepotism. Buhari started it. Tinubu have now taken it a notch higher. In fact, he has broken all records. Go and check the appointment. From the higher to the middle to the lowest, it's all about Yoruba. And you ask yourself, what is going on? Buhari did it, but Tinubu have broken all barriers.
But Barrister, does it matter that someone comes from a particular tribe? If the person would deliver, just like you said earlier, if the person would deliver, isn't it a normal thing to have the person in that office?
Please, deliver what? Have they delivered? Did the Buhari people, did they deliver? Please, did the Buhari people deliver? So if they did not deliver, is it Tinubu people that are delivering now? You can see how the economy is. You can see. Did they deliver? The answer is capital no.
But Barrister, the former president, and of course this present president, did say that what they met in office in the 16 years of the PDP is far more of a time bomb waiting to happen. But they are trying to salvage the situation. I mean, I'm just trying to rephrase what the government have said. But basically, as it stands, Okonjo-Iweala in second term, obviously she's done something extremely good and right for her to get that second confirmation. Looking at the future, do you think that she might, in the nearer days, have something to do in the political office within Nigeria?
The way Nigeria is construed, the way Nigeria is, planned and all that, the way Nigeria is now, my dear, it's not possible. Let us call it a spade.
Anyways, Barrister.
And she wouldn't want to come and embarrass herself here. If APC is talking that PDP did so bad enough, how come this economy did not collapse under them in 16 years? How come? You mean they are so clever that they managed it? They did everything just to cover up, and yet the economy did not collapse under PDP. You know, a bad workman always quarrel with his tools. There's nothing they will not tell us.
Anyways, Barrister, in the popular saying, never say never, we might just see her, might just see her as maybe the first female president.
Look, with the tribal politics going on here, she will not cope. She will not cope.
Barrister, let's get to another conversation. Interestingly, Israeli forces military has warned Lebanese citizens not to return to 60 villages in the south of the country. Barrister, this looks like a subtle threat, even though there is a ceasefire agreement between these two countries. What say you in all of this, Barrister?
It's not good enough, because if there's a ceasefire, there's a ceasefire. You should not begin to give another condition. You should not go here, you should not go there. Is it that they have planted the landmines in these places? Or that the Hezbollah terrorists are there? I don't get it. Why would they not return to their villages? Did they give any reason? The answer is no. So it means that as long as the ceasefire lasted, those villages will remain without their people, or what? Then there is no ceasefire here. Israel should not give such a condition. If they have accepted a ceasefire, let there be a ceasefire.
Barrister, one of the most outstanding statements made in this conversation is the fact that they said if they return, they'll be putting themselves in danger. So is there the possibility, just like you did alluded some seconds ago, there's been mine popped in the ground in those areas?
If that's what they have done, then it makes sense. it makes sense. Maybe after the complete, ceasefire and all that, or the issue has been resolved, then they can begin to demand the villages for them to go back.
Oh, well, Barrister, interestingly, officials in Israel and, of course, Lebanon have accused each other of already breaching the ceasefire agreement. Do you think that in any way, looking at the future, this ceasefire might see the light of the day?
It will, because since Israel had that, the ICC are now,
Interested in the matter?
yes, and they are now calling out Netanyahu and Gallant, as war criminals.
Yes.
I think it will help them to slow down. In fact, that was even what helped the ceasefire.
Barrister, help Africans and the rest of the world understand what's the influence of the incoming president of the U.S., President-elect Donald Trump, as concerning all of these conversations, Israel agreeing to ceasefire. Do you think his influence is part of the reason why Israel is agreeing at this time?
I think so. In fact, Joe Biden has just woken up, because this fire should have been, put in place long ago, before now. But Joe Biden was pulling punches because Israel is involved here. He was not. I think that was even what made them to lose the election in the U.S. People hated the way Joe Biden handled the Israeli, Gaza, and Lebanon issue. There was a serious protest against the Democrats and their leadership in the U.S. And I think that affected their electoral fortune. If Joe Biden have done this thing before even the election, it would have helped them. But they were pulling punches. In fact, Israel neglected Joe Biden even when he visited Israel. Even when he visited Israel, he couldn't persuade them to slow down. And the children were dying. There were gory pictures of children,
yes,
who died needlessly. So this thing enraged the whole world. And that was why Donald Trump was saying, look, I am going to stop this thing 24 hours after I enter office. And so that woke up Joe Biden and his party. Okay. Even the help they now rendered to Ukraine, where they're supposed to even pull muscles. They were not pulling muscles, and that's supposed to be in Ukraine, where Russia is having upper hand.
Right.
It was just recently that they now ordered a particular missile to be fired into Russian, cities and all that. And this angered Vladimir Putin. He now came out. In fact, for the past 3 or 4 days now,
he's been talking.
What's his name? Ukraine, they don't hear him according to Street Balance. The man it's like you put the tiger by the tail. The man says, so you can fire into my own territory. And now the latest bomb, crushing, but what did they call it? Ballistic missile. It has been devastating Ukrainian cities for the past 3 days. So this is things that should have been taken care of ab initio. This thing wouldn't have escalated, but because of the way Joe Biden handled it, and only for him to wake up now to say, all these things should have been done from the beginning so that Russia will be contained. Where was Joe Biden and the U.S. government when Russia entered Ukraine and took part of their territory? As I'm talking to you now, 3 major cities have been taken over by Russia.
Well, some quarters have said that at the time, the U.S. seemed like it was in support of the Russian military at the time. But with the recent developments from the U.S. government, it's obviously is looking like, just like you said, the presidency in the U.S. have woken up and they're trying to get it right. But maybe, just maybe, the ceasefire would see the light of the day in the nearer days.
No, there's no war that will never end. No war. The 100 Years War in Europe some time ago, it ended eventually.
Right.
The World War I ended. The World War II ended. So there is no war that will not come to an end, because at a point, the warring parties will get tired. You know, the warring parties will definitely get tired. So there's no war that can never end. It's not possible.
All right, let's get to another conversation. Syrian military has also been fighting and really fighting hard because armed rebels in Syria have entered the second largest city in Syria, and that's Aleppo. As it stands, rebels consistently having their field day in some of these countries. What can be attributed to all of this? And again, the Syrian military, a lot of persons felt they had it hands on to the point of stopping these rebels. But as it is, the second largest city in Syria have been practically infiltrated by these rebels. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I am really, really embarrassed. I am really, really ashamed by the Muslim world. They always tell us that Islam is the religion of peace. But look at all the warring regions in the whole world. It's always these Islamic states. And I was thinking that by now, the Islamic leader would have sat down and said, look, why are we always fighting? Why is it that the insecurity in the world today is coming from our region? Why is it that we are never at peace with our neighbors? And yet we claim to profess a peaceful religion. How does it add up? Look at how long that Syria has been devastated. All because Al-Assad remained very, very stubborn. Apparently because he has found a comfortable zone underground bunker which Russia has built for him. Why would such regions be fighting? If you go and check what is going on now, in fact, it's a very small issue that ought to be resolved. That is why I keep telling you, David, that look, the peace of this country, Nigeria, is in the hands of Christians. Because if we are to be retaliating or revenge, we take revenge the way we are being insulted, the way we are being, threatened. There will be no Nigeria by now. Most of the things they have done to Christians in Nigeria, if they try it elsewhere, my dear, there will be full-scale war. So we Christians, we are even the real peacemakers. That is why look at all of them all over the world. The Western world, which you and I know that they are mostly Christians, either Anglican or Catholic or Methodist. Look at how peaceful they are. Because we know how to resolve issues peacefully. We don't even bother with all these small issues that cause problem in Arab nations. So why is it that Arab leaders, they have not sat down and asked themselves, come, why are we doing all this? Look at the devastations. Iraq is no more now. This was an Iraq that used to be a powerful nation, yes, all because of one man's greed to take over everywhere. Imagine America with all the power they have. America can overrun the whole of Latin America in 24 hours. True or false? They have what it takes to do that. But Saddam Hussein, because of this DNA in them, always being belligerent, always being aggressive with their neighbors. Instead of him to manage the Iraq that he's in control of, he would have been alive today with his children. Well, but because he wanted to add Kuwait to their 19th province, look at what happened to him.
Well, Barrister, as it stands, Al-Assad of Syria seemed to have some collaboration with the president of Russia. Now, you want to ask, the question one wants to find out would be, what do you think is the reason why Russia is in bed with Al-Assad? Economically, they're not even the same. They're not at par. So why do you think, as it stands, Syria is not getting it right when it comes to security of her people?
In fact, Al-Assad has been there because of Russia.
You think so, Barrister?
Yes, it's Russia that is sustaining him over the years. It's Russia. If not, things would have happened. Russia is sustaining Al-Assad. Unfortunately, the Western world, US, UK, Canada, and all of them, they are not interested. They are not interested. That's why they didn't bother. Because what is going on there is purely an internal matter. I think there was an election or so that went sour. And the man said he's not going anywhere. Did you remember the father? He took over from the father. He took over. So Russia has an interest in Syria. And that interest is nothing but other than economic and military interest. But they are the ones sustaining Syria. They want an ally. All these Western powers, they're always looking for one ally or the other in all these other weaker nations. So that they will always have somebody they will now dictate to and all that.
Oh, well.
That's not the only reason.
It's quite an unfortunate one because if this continues, the economy of Syria seems to be going down the drain because insecurity has gotten to the second largest city in the country. And that, again, economically is dropping what they have as gains. So there is nothing that will be left for Syria.
They are not bothered as long as al-Assad is alive and is enjoying himself. Every other person can go to hell. That's what they want with dictators. They don't care about their people.
Quite an unfortunate
Yes, that Aleppo. In fact, that was the first time, the first place this war was so hard and so bitter. Because getting that city is like getting Syria. Eventually, the government forces took over. In fact, this is the second time the rebels have come into that city. The second time.
Yes.
And it's a very important city in Syria. Maybe another war will be orchestrated to push them away. But why not a final solution? Because this is started since 2011 or so.
Yeah.
And it has not ended. The Arab nation, what are they doing? The Arab leaders.
2016 precisely.
What are they doing since that time till now? The Arab leaders, they are supposed to make this peace so that we will know that truly. How can you finish fighting and killing yourself, then in the evening you go somewhere and start praying? Oh God. Whom are you not praying to? Whom are you praying to? It sounds so strange, seriously. The world should call the Arab leaders to, because it's not enough to say that you're a member of OIC, Organization of Islamic Conference. What are they doing there? What are they doing there when their nations are in turmoil? You go there, you talk and talk. What are you talking? Can't you have a template for peace in all your Arab nations? Can't you have a template? Say, look, whenever any of you go across, we are going to come in and call you to order. But they will just stand aloof.
Oh, well, quite an unfortunate one. From one Arab nation to another, that's where we're going right now with this story of Iran planning to install 6,000 centrifuges to enrich uranium IAEA. I mean, this is coming, of course, Iran has informed the International Atomic Energy Agency that it plans to install more than 60,000, I beg your pardon, 6,000 new centrifuges to enrich uranium. Now, this report comes as Iran prepares to hold talks with Britain, France, Germany, and of course, in Geneva over its nuclear program. Now, Iran seems to want to get better with its nuclear weaponry and, of course, the programs that would give them much more voice in the EU. Do you think by this particular plan to install 6,000 centrifuges to enrich, of course, uranium, the world will start seeing Iran as a world power when it comes to atomic weaponry?
Of course, that is the end game. Because if you check it now, since Iraq went down under Saddam Hussein, there is no other superior force in the Middle East apart from Israel. So Iran want to fill that void by making sure that they are powerful force to reckon with. That is just the issue here. Nature does not like a vacuum. Since the dethronement of Saddam Hussein and Iraq, Iran has been struggling with the Western world to keep up with their arms build-up. And the reason why the Western world are concerned is because you see some of these tyrants, you don't keep such a weapon in their custody. You don't allow them to be in custody of such a deadly weapon. They may trigger a third world war.
Okay.
That is just the fear of the Western powers. That's why they want to curtail him from having a a hold on it.
So this conversation, you think, is about, curtailing and having
Yeah,
a hold on them?
exactly, because of the implication. These people that are so temperamental and unreasonable, they can just pull the trigger at the slightest provocation, and then before you know it, the whole world will now gather to come and stop another third world war. Because the moment that thing is used in an unreasonable manner, definitely there will be reaction. And that reaction may involve so many other countries. It will not end with just Iran. That's the fear of the world. They want to prevent another third world war. That's just the truth.
Okay. Now, well, as it stands, Iran, by this singular move, like you did mention, world powers will be looking at them as a force to want to reckon with and, of course, to curtail them. And, well, we hope that this conversation...
Yeah, that is the reason, so that you can now enter into agreement not to use it.
all right.
Because if America were to use their own nuclear arsenal, in fact, the world will end in just 24 hours. Russia has a universal bomb. If they drop one in Africa, Africa will go down. I mean, sink. To tell you how powerful these things are. But they are just keeping it there as a deterrent, because when you know that the man you want to attack is equally a formidable foe, you will think twice before attacking him. If Japan had an answer to atomic bomb that US dropped on them in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, they would have retaliated, but they didn't have an answer. That was why after the dropping of that bomb, they reclined into their ship and the war ended.
Oh, well, let's just get to another conversation because of our time. Interestingly, a former Chinese state media journalist was sentenced to 7 years in prison for espionage. And I'm talking about 62-year-old Dong Wu, who have been detained since 2022. He's been sentenced for espionage. And as it stands, Barrister, he was having a lunch with a Japanese diplomat in Beijing before he was arrested. Is this in any way, some persons say this, spans as a gagging of a media personnel, but according to Chinese authorities, they said the charges are because they believe he was a spy. And as the sentence goes, 7 years in prison, do you think that particular sentence was a fair one, owing to the fact that, yes, what he was charged seemed to be a big huge when it comes to security of a country like China?
You know, China is a communist state.
Yes.
In fact, call it a police state. You cannot even cough without somebody, tapping you from the back and say, why did you cough so loud? Their security agencies are all over the place. They are ubiquitous, watching every move, everybody. And so, when this man was moving from Japanese to, what is it called again, this other country, he was hobnobbing with their diplomat. He was being monitored. I don't know why he did not watch his back. And of course, when you have such a high-profile journalist moving from one diplomatic circle to the other,
right,
it raises suspicion. That was why they began to trail him. And then, when he was having this lunch with this Japanese diplomat, they had to nab him because it was believed that he was passing information to the man. That was what happened. So, if there is a law against it in China, like I believe every other country has a law against spying.
Yes.
Because you are leaking state secrets. It's like a treasonable felony. In fact, it may lead to execution in some instances.
So, in other words, his sentencing of 7 years seems a bit fair.
I think it depends on the level of disclosure, the level of secrecy.
That was leaked.
Yes. If they discover that the entire, security this thing has been compromised, they will execute the man. But if they discover that it was not too, they may, because I remember the first woman that was executed during the Second World War,
yes,
Mata Hari. What was her crime? She was moving from German to Allied forces military big men. You know, with her beauty and all that, she was, you know, mesmerizing them and all that. So she would go to the German side to collect information, pass it to the Allied forces, collect from the Allied forces, pass it to the German side. So when the German Secret Service discovered what she was doing, it did not even bother them that she too was bringing information to their side. Eh? They believe that she must have been passing information to the Allied forces. And they executed her. Mata Hari, the first woman. If you read her history, my dear, you will know that there are some women that are very daring.
So in other words, because China is a country...
So that will tell you how serious it is.
For such...
yes, because you would have put a whole lot of men in danger. Imagine if they are planning an ambush. Eh? If they are planning an operation. And because the man you were lying in bed with is high profile, who knows that they are talking about it, and maybe jokingly he will now give you the information. The following day, after having your session, in the morning, you now run to the other side and say, look, something is going to happen tomorrow. Look at where they are going. Look at, by the time those people enter there, do you think they will come back?
Well, interesting times it is. Well, Barrister, before I let you go, let's have a quick touch on the renovation of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. President Macron, who also is presently the host to our own President Tinubu in France, is saying that this reopening of the cathedral is a worthy one to note. I mean, you would recall that the cathedral was destroyed by fire in 2019.
A mysterious fire.
Yeah, well, Barrister, when you say mysterious fire, maybe you help me understand what you mean by mysterious fire.
When something is mysterious, that means it cannot be explained. Because how could a structure like that be involved in such a devastating fire?
Oh, Barrister, from your end, what do you think was the cause of the fire?
That one is mysterious now. Because it cannot be ordinary electrical fault now.
Oh, well.
It cannot be. Something strange happened that nobody can explain. Just like that Malaysia flight that up to today, nobody know what happened. So there are mysterious things. A whole flight, you know about that story now.
Right.
That disappeared within, I think, 10 minutes or so. They have searched everywhere within at least if a plane will take off from the airport here now.
Yeah.
And disappeared after 5 minutes. David, there's no way that particular plane would have left at least within a western and maybe Midwest region under 5 minutes. So if you are making your search, it should be within this region.
Right.
Going by the timeline that the thing disappeared. But they have searched, even gone beyond, entered the sea, go everywhere. Up to today, nobody knows what happened to that plane and the passengers. Is that not a mystery?
Quite an interesting mystery.
So really. The same thing could have happened to that cathedral. You know there are so many gods there. Maybe they are angry. You have not been feeding them. That's why every morning our ancestors will go and pour libation, give their gods kola nut and other things, so that there will be peace. Right, there will be peace in the land.
But then the reopening of this cathedral is with December the 7th and the 8th. And President Macron has, of course, expressed gratitude and solidarity to the workers and the donors who did donate about 582 million pounds for the renovation of that cathedral. Again, in the 19th century, top to ground. I mean, the top really crashed the ground, the mysterious fire you're talking about. But in the reopening of this cathedral, do you think it's going to maybe grant some level of hope and confidence to the people of Paris again?
Why not? Not even Paris, the whole world. Why do you think the whole world donated money? If you read the history of that Notre Dame, is a historical monument. That was why the whole world rallied around France to make sure that it does not go there. Yes, support. I'm telling you. If you look at the history of that place, when you are talking of early religion, when there is the time of Jesus Christ, it has something to do with that cathedral.
Oh well,
but here, What are you doing with the old monument? Destruction.
Unfortunately.
When you destroy, you now put up one modern building there because you have money, you have power. Go around Lagos. None of them is existing now.
All right, Barrister, we have to let you go. Thank you so very much for being here. We've been talking with Barrister Darlington Agumo, Voice of the People TV's in-house political analyst, and of course a barrister by law on the analysis segment of the World News. Barrister, once again, thank you for being here.
Thank you, David.
All right, the rest of the World News will continue shortly, just after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Polls have opened in Ireland as voters choose new members of the 174-seat lower chamber of Parliament in Dublin, with the incumbent coalition parties neck and neck with the opposition party Sinn Féin, after a campaign marked by argument over housing and cost of living crisis. Counting is not due to start until Saturday morning, with partial results expected throughout the day. A final result, however, may not be clear for days as Ireland's proportional representation system sees votes of eliminated candidates redistributed during multiple rounds of counting. Moving on with other stories, riot police in Georgia used pepper spray and water cannon against protesters who turned out on the streets of Tbilisi after the government's suspended move to join the European Union. The government said 43 people were arrested at the demonstration in the capital, Tbilisi. Crowds also turned out after Prime Minister Irakli Kobad said his government would drop its pursuit of EU membership until the end of 2028, a move criticized by more than 100 foreign diplomats as unconstitutional. Kobad's death had accused the bloc of blackmail after EU legislators called for last month's parliamentary elections in Georgia to be rerun. Moving on, Australia have warned travelers not to drink some liquors in Laos following a spate of deaths linked to suspected methanol poisoning. Australia's Foreign Affairs Department, in a travel advisory on its website, warned Australians to avoid drinking Tiger vodka, and Tiger whiskey due to serious safety concerns. It added that Laotian authorities have barred the sale and consumption of these two products due to concerns that they were at a health risk. Reports suggest that the 6 persons who died earlier this month in the Laotian town of Vang Eng had drunk shots of locally made vodka. And from that story, we move to some business story. Major tech companies, including Meta and TikTok, have criticized Australia's newly approved law banning children under 16 from accessing social media, calling the process rushed. The law imposes fines of up to $32 million on tech giants that fail to comply. The legislation, introduced to curb cyberbullying and protect children, has drawn criticism from platforms like TikTok, which warned that it might rush young users to unsafe corners of the internet. Meta also questioned the causal link between social media and youth mental health, while Snapchat's parent company, Snap, raised concerns about unclear implementation. This contentious move by Australia follows earlier measures that mandated social media platforms to pay royalties to media outlets and threaten fines for failing to address online scams. From that business story, we move straight to some sports stories. Manchester City's Rodri and Erling Braut Haaland are the only Premier League nominees for the Best Male Player category at the 2024 FIFA Best Awards, following City's historic achievement of winning 4 consecutive league titles. Jude Bellingham from Real Madrid is also nominated, joined by primarily Spanish-based players. Lionel Messi, the 2023 winner, is the only nominee outside Europe. Rodri, who won the Ballon d'Or, is a strong contender against Vinicius Jr., while 21-year-old Bellingham is hoping to be the first male English player to win the FIFA award. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola is competing against other notable coaches for the Coach of the Year. With that, we've come to the end of the world news right here on Voice of the People TV. Thank you so very much for watching. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for joining us. I am David Edwin. Do have a good evening.